So, on this edition of Coyote Rant, which we can call Christian junk food, the rant where I really vented out my feelings and frustrations with worship music in churches nowadays is definitely one I'm still proud of. It remains the most viewed video of mine since I started releasing videos again back in March of 2019. The link to the original rant is up if you want to read the comments from it or listen to the whole thing. In this revisiting, I'm only going to select clips and expand on them.
Can't you see you're not making Christianity better? You're just making rock and roll worse.
No, this does not mean I'm back, but I've had some things I want to get off my chest, including this subject.
There was a period in 2017, 2018 when I felt disillusioned by my YouTube channel, the viewers, and I tried to start doing something new on a new channel, doing a more science and astronomy themed thing. But when I didn't get what I wanted out of it, and tried too hard in making the videos in a style of someone that I wasn't, then I just thought, screw this, screw video making, screw YouTube, I got better things to do. But of course, around this time, as much as I loved being involved with my church, the one thing that continued to bug me was how much I really couldn't stand the music being played, and how they were playing it. That rant was very raw, real, brutally honest about how I felt, and I still feel the same way. And I think because it resonated with a lot of people who chanced on the video, it was a variety of comments from a lot of people who agreed with me. And surprisingly, many of them were fellow Christians, some of them who even played in worship bands themselves. I was expecting a lot of people to tell me, you need to rethink your faith and let the Holy Spirit in, but I didn't really get those comments.
So here are the main reasons why I love church, but I hate church music. First reason, it's simply not my kind of music.
Well, of course you can't stand it. You're a metalhead.
Yeah, that probably attributes to the reasons nowadays. But I've been to services with an energetic rock band leading the way, the kind meant to cater to people like me, and I still didn't get anything out of it.
Now, for starts, I didn't always have the strong opinions on worship music in churches. I could remember a time when I used to really like it, but it was when I was a lot younger. Growing up in Riverside, California, we used to attend the largest church in the city for a number of years. Some services, instead of going to Sunday school, I stayed in the adult church and saw the band play. And compared to the children's building where the worship was just two people on acoustic guitars doing kids sing-along VeggieTales type of thing, this worship band in the main sanctuary felt like Metallica to me. A full band with drums, bass, electric guitars, keyboards, and it sounded amazing. And because I just wanted to hear better music, I would sometimes beg my parents, please just let me stay here in the adult church. So from 7th through 10th grade, I went to a private Christian school that also held chapel services once a week. And because it was the same worship rock band setup, I remember feeling, oh man, this is just like Christian rock radio. This is awesome. But then over time, my opinions on the music just began to sour. It started feeling like a chore to listen and sit through, and overall it was boring. Even though it was the same instruments, overall the songs just felt less intense. Certain songs that were normally upbeat were also slowed down over the years. I distinctly remember one song that started with the words, I love your grace, I love your mercy. My 8th grade year, the drummer played it pretty fast, like in a speedy pop punk style. And I remember the whole school, as soon as he started blasting it on the drums, they just got up like, oh, here we go. Like, it got kids excited. 9th grade, the song was still played a little upbeat, but not nearly as fast. And then the year after that, it was the same generic 4/4 beat as any other worship song you would hear. And it wasn't because I disliked Christian music. Heck, my first ever concert was a Newsboys and Rebecca St. James show, and it was a fantastic experience. But then I'd go back to the chapel team or any worship team and think, this just isn't doing anything for me. So perhaps it was a combination of changing musical tastes while getting tired of cheap Jesus music, or just not really digging what was being played on radio, and dealing with a lot of anger issues I had personally as a teen. Stuff I needed was heavier. I needed lyrics that resonated more with me and played more than 3 notes. And if the song was longer, it wasn't as repetitive as a broken record. And on a side note, I remember a moment in 2007 when I was driving my grandparents from Southern California to Great Falls, Montana. We were going to go bury my late brother. He had passed of cancer a month prior. I was 19, my grandfather was in his mid 80s at the time, and I had contemporary Christian music playing in the van just to break the silence. Nothing too loud or intense. Grandpa, who was a jazz musician, played piano and clarinet, he started just putting up his hand and counting with his fingers. 1, 2, 3. Grandpa, what you doing? This song has only 3 notes, Anthony. Okay, it's Christian music. Yeah, but it's awful. And then another song played. Anthony, there's only 1 note to this. So I just turned the music off. And then sometime later, he came into the living room as I was watching a documentary of Metallica making an album. And he said, these guys actually seem intelligent and really smart. I think I want to hear a song by them. So there you go. Even my Episcopalian grandfather, who once told me he actually dug the Elvis craze in the 50s, respected and knew what good music was in his 93 years of life on this planet. It took a bit for my parents and I to find a consistent church that we wanted to go to after my brother passed. On a recommendation, we tried going to a church hosted on the Christian college campus, and it was being geared more toward younger adults. Concert lighting, worship songs being louder, energetic, and more distorted guitars than I would usually hear. And I remember cringing when the worship leader belted, "Are y'all ready to worship God?" like he was a member of AC/DC playing arena rock in Wembley Stadium. And yeah, I enjoyed the sermons from the pastor, who at the time sported the California surfer look. It wasn't until around mid-2011 when my parents found the church for them, the same place my godmother was at. And then one day I was invited to a Christmas church potluck with my girlfriend at the time, and they strategically put me at the same table as the senior pastor and his wife who introduced themselves. Long story short, I've been going to that church since 2012, and that girlfriend eventually became my ex-wife a few years later. Just like I said in the last one, the actual people behind the team are an amazing group of people, and they do know what they're doing on stage. And I will say this, there are people in that church, no matter what instrument or lack of is being used. They can just get in that zone like a pro athlete able to shut off all distractions. When you see these individuals absolutely lose themselves in prayer, worship, prostration, and gents fellowship, it is indeed a beautiful thing to see from a spiritual standpoint. Sure, you can make fun of the people highlighted in that Slayer Goes to Church parody video, but having witnessed it in person to a lesser extreme, I know it's not an act with them. They genuinely are that passionate about Jesus as I would be if it's a heavy metal band playing in front of me, or if one of my favorite teams wins a championship, or if a major inspiring celestial event is happening. So I am not at all saying that worship in general at churches is bad, nor discrediting anyone's spiritual connections. So out of curiosity, I did check out other services in my town, mainly to see how the worship team did what they did. And yes, I still time the songs. So thanks to many of their services being published online now, it squeezed months worth of church hopping in a matter of a few days.
At the church service, they usually play 4 songs. You think that's not too bad, but what if I told you they make a 4-song set last over 30 minutes? This song as originally released is about 6 minutes long. You think that's long enough? But no! At my church, this song goes on for 9, maybe 10, sometimes 11 minutes. And no, I am not exaggerating. I keep track of how long each song gets played on a stopwatch. Yes, I'm that bored.
My church did 4 songs at the time of the original rant, now they do 3. 1 upbeat song, followed by 2 slow marches that build up in intensity. And of course, between each song is a couple minutes of prayer and scripture, led by the leader, nothing out of the ordinary so far. As it is a Foursquare Pentecostal church, it is normal to see people clapping, cheering, dancing, jumping, speaking in tongues, etc. Nothing wrong with any of that. The pastor also comes up and does kind of an intense worship speech that's not really his sermon, just more stuff to keep the congregation in the intense fellowship mode. And the band is still behind him as this is happening until he finishes that part. Sometimes there's an additional song the band always plays for communion whenever we do it. And then, of course, there's the last song that plays as people get up and leave while others stay and sing it out. And to channel my inner Stanley from The Office, I don't really care for the last song, but the song means it's time to go home. So now it's my favorite song. And the reason I'm saying this is to differentiate how other churches in the area do theirs. When I checked out my childhood megachurch, which we'll call Megachurch 1 or MC1, they did 3 songs followed by a short speech, then one more song before the senior pastor did his sermon. Every one of their songs went on average about 5 minutes, give or take. The longest one was 6. And then when MC1 did their last song, it was only 2 minutes, as if they know people were trying to beat the traffic and catch the start of the football game. And I checked out their live streams, and the order and length was generally the same. And one thing I will say about MC1, sound-wise, their music is excellent. You can tell these are top musicians in their own right, and just like I said in the original rant, they make the worship team at my service sound like a bad cover band who plays only in front of their girlfriends and parents. And yeah, it does help when there's more than just keyboards and drums in front of me. The megachurch that my late brother found God, became a devoted member, and had one of his funerals at, or MC2, they're usually doing 3 songs at the beginning and then 1 at the end, but every song lasts no more than 4 or 5 minutes. Another large church in Riverside. Again, same song lengths, no more than 4 or 5 minutes. 2 megachurches based out of Corona that I looked up online. Same thing, no longer than 4 or 5 minutes. So just like I said in the original rant, it seems no matter what modern contemporary church you go to, by and large, it is the same songs. And this was confirmed when I checked out MC1 in person. Once I heard MC1 play Goodness of God, this one.
All my life you have been faithful.
They did it for no more than 5 minutes. And then when I heard my church play it, it went on for 9 minutes. Not because they played it slower, but because they just repeated the same sections. And when these songs in the other churches already seem repetitive and get stale after 5 minutes, to me it feels like an absolute eternity when it goes on for a 10-minute extended version. It's like a Milli Vanilli record that keeps skipping and they forget to fix it. God, you'll know, it's 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 God, you'll know. I remember when I showed the stopwatch times to a friend of mine who plays in a worship team, he said, "Yikes, these are Grateful Dead numbers." And that's the main problem. Yeah, Metallica has anthems that go on for that long. Dream Theater has songs that go on that long. But just like I said in the original rant, they don't feel that long. There's creativity behind them as they go through multiple sections and moods. But with worship music, it's none of that. Anything resembling something creative is few and far between. And for goodness sake, how many times do I need to sing the same line over and over? I mean, take that song Good, Good Father, one of the most uniquely terrible worship songs ever, in my opinion. To me, it sounds like you're the person petting God on the head, going, "Who's a good God? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Who's a good God? Are you a good boy?" Last time I checked, God is not your pet dog that you need to give positive reassurance to for sitting on command or playing fetch. And my goodness, is that song repetitive. In the 5-minute version that's by Chris Tomlin, how often are we repeating "it's who you are" or "it's who I am"?
It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are, it's who I am, it's who I am, it's who I am. It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are, it's who I am, it's who I am, it's who I am.
And at 4 or 5 minutes, this music in churches already seems boring, predictable, and super repetitive. No, I'm not saying that church music needs to be entertainingly catchy and safe like a Taylor Swift song. Otherwise, it is no different than going to a pop concert. But what I see happens all the time is during every service I go to, I'm observing people that start singing, clapping along, etc. But by the second or third minute, most of them are zoning out. Oh, sure, some stay in that mood the entire song, and that's great for them. But most of the people, after a while, are already looking at the worship team like they have steaming turds hanging out of their mouth, as if to say, okay, get on with it.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Get on with it.
If you are making God, the creator of all the cosmos, seem boring, stale, repetitive, and predictable, that's a problem. And I get it. I know there are biblical reasons why the worship songs are part of services and structured the way they are. They are supposed to be part of the package. Otherwise, you're there to see a religious motivational speaker get up there and tell you stories or do Bible study. So I understand. They are supposed to get you in that mood to come before the Creator and feel the Holy Spirit leading you and glorify God with all you got. But then why are the songs these days that are meant to worship an unpredictable, creative God the most predictable, repetitive, stale, and unimaginative pieces of music on the planet? And why do some churches like mine feel the need to play them even longer than necessary? Do we really need to play Good, Good Father for 10 freaking minutes?
No! God, please, no! No! No!
You need to see repetition as a form of meditation and prayer. I get that. And I know the quality of the music is not supposed to matter. Worship is supposed to be reactionary to God's mercies and His Spirit. Yeah, I'm reacting all right with disdain for the same chord progression, same beat, and same repeated sentences over and over. I'm sure God can hear us just fine after the first few times we sing the same line. And I'm pretty sure God knows the heart of the person attending and standing there waiting for the song to end. You just need to be led by the Spirit. Let God into your presence. Yeah, I feel His presence all right, and He's telling me, play or sing something with substance, otherwise this is Matthew 6 on repeat. I get if it's heartfelt and genuine, but time and time again, I see the same repetition in these songs in real time start to lose their meaning. And then at that point, it starts feeling like the vain repetition that is warned against in Matthew 6:7. And I feel like if Jesus returned today and saw what was being used in worship services, he'd be embarrassed, especially for songs that feel more like Jesus is my boyfriend anthems being sang in worship services. The kind that South Park parodied over 2 decades ago.
Faith Plus One, featuring the very best in good, wholesome Christian music.
I wanna get down on my knees and start pleasing Jesus. I wanna feel His salvation all over my face. Whenever I see Jesus up on that cross, I can't help but think that He looks kinda hot.
Look, if you can get in that passionate for Jesus mode where the song being used as a tool for worship helps you express your faith, then that's awesome. You are doing something that I just cannot find myself doing after 30 years of attending church services. And I may not be able to get like that when it's a cheap, repetitive Jesus tune being sung in front of me, but I definitely can get like that when I'm experiencing a total solar eclipse, the northern lights, or there's a rare bright comet in the sky, something amazing happening in the sky that's inspiring. Or sometimes when I'm just alone stargazing in the desert and having that one-on-one time with myself and the Creator to really reflect. That's where you can find me having that intense fellowship and prayer. Just not when a cheap Jesus song is sung in front of me. And because there's actually more to this than I thought, this revisiting is longer than the original rant itself. Well, guess what? I'm not done. So be sure to check the next Coyote Rant on Christian junk food, where I listen to and react to the top worship songs as listed on Spotify. I'm Desert Coyote 22. Thanks for listening.